Sam.
Fred.
What the heck, bro? One thing about this episode that I think was going to go down in the archives is this was a lot easier to get on than our last two when, we really left people in the dust. There were times like when you look at Jared, that took him a while. We look at Teddy, that took him a while.
Right.
But finally we got all the wrinkles ironed out. And this was like smooth like clockwork. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. Smooth, really graceful. We're really becoming graceful here.
Right. We're learning from our mistakes.
Can you hear me well?
Mm-hmm. We can hear. Yeah. Can you hear us?
We got a guest here already?
I went to
Yeah, how about that?
I thought,
can he not hear us,
Simon?
I don't think he can hear us.
Simon, can you hear us?
I'm gone. Okay, it was not better. I go back. Oh, now?
You can hear us now?
Yeah, but they are gone. Okay,
Simon, let's get this right. Wow, I thought we had the whole thing already put together, and now Simon's got to put a fly in the ointment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. To spice it up a little bit, you guys need challenges.
I don't even know if you were hearing all the wondrous miracles that I was voicing about how did you hear this? About like up until this point of the episode, this thing has been like clockwork. We have got this thing started
so graceful, so smooth every episode.
That's what I'm talking. Every episode, and
boom, boom, boom.
We did make some mistakes with the earlier people. We gave them the wrong link, and and then their microphone didn't work, and then we left them in the dust. And I thought we had this good until this thing with your earphones. Whatever.
It's a selection criteria. Only the best will survive.
This is Charles Darwin. I think
we're getting Darwinian here. Yeah,
selection of the fittest guests.
We haven't even introduced our guest, Sam, and we're into Darwin.
Let's let our guest introduce himself and tell us why he has survived in his own industry and how he is one of the fittest to be doing what he is doing. Let's start there.
Sam, is that a little bit hokey? I'm willing to roll with you here on this, but is that the origin of this species? Is this the best that you have? Is the origin of this species, Sam?
He's a hell of a species. Simon's a species of his own.
He might be asking himself why he survived to get to this exact minute too, right about now, because it's been a lot of years to get to.
He's like, what have I done? What have I done agreeing to be on this right now?
Oh, Simon. And Simon, let's make it clear to our guests that we determined that it's possible that this episode won't ever air because the three of us potentially could deliver dangerous material into the airwaves.
We can talk fitness of any firm, actually, because I think fitness is very relevant right now. We live in times of high volatility, uncertainty, and ambiguity. And now when you run a business, the odds are against you that you will be around later. So it is really highly improbable that you do the right things because you cannot base them on any evidence, on any reality. So we can go there because
there you go. I knew he was going to take it. I knew he was going to bite that bait, and he did beautifully with it. So Sam, there you go, Fred.
Look, all of a sudden I'm writing stuff down. It's 10:45 at night, and the dude's got me studying already.
When the doctor takes the notepad, we are onto something.
I'm actually listening for like different places where I might be able to ask a question. And so far, I'm just like, whoa, wind in my hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow, amazing. Simon, I did some reading up on you, some podcasts. I did some research, some vetting, which actually makes you different than any other guest that we've ever had, because I never did that with anyone else. But I definitely decided I'd have to do it with you. You show up prepared. Sam and I have had some behind-the-scenes conversations about the value of showing up marginally prepared for the guests that you have on your show. And what you just delivered is very, very powerful. I personally would have saved that to like minute 23 or something. I don't think I would have rolled that out at minute 3. But you did. I mean, it's here already. And I think what you're talking about, this idea of doing the right thing successfully, is highly unlikely. Like, is that like the essence? A little bit of one of the spaces that I think you were touching on is that when creating a business, startups are very, very likely to fail, and doing the right thing is also highly unlikely because we don't know what's in front of us. Or can you elaborate a little bit on there's something I sort of get immediately from what you're saying as if it's so, but then there's another piece that's like, is this dude just pulling the wool, just acting smart and shit? Because I know you can do that too. So talk to us about what's really so.
It's highly improbable that we are here, the three of us, and talking about anything. According to Einstein, it's highly improbable that just one person comes into life. But it's even much more so when you run a business right now in this year 2021, because you don't know what's going to happen next week.
Wait, I'm gonna match you here. Hold on one second. I'm with you on Einstein talking about the likely improbability of anyone being born. I totally get that for sure, all that. And I also get this idea of what you're saying about business, because you don't know what's coming around the corner. So it's highly improbable that there's going to be that you, like I saw in one of your podcasts, that focusing on the solutions is kind of like the wrong direction, maybe, because that's going to leave you never really dealing with the hardships of what's here now. But my question for you is to say that what's happening right now is highly improbable. That twists me up a little bit, because since it's happening, how can it be improbable? I get that something in the future happening and picking it out and declaring it is improbable. But how is it that if something is actually, you have to say the three of us are here communicating. If you're not going to say that, then I guess my whole question fades into oblivion. But since we are here communicating, how could it be that something that's actually happening still meets the criteria for being improbable? There you go. That's what I meant to ask.
That we'll have to ask Einstein, because he came up with that theory. Where I start is, we are the three of us, we are already here. We are entrepreneurs. We have to take decisions. And this is where I start and with my work starts. We are here now. What do we make of it? How do we collect the right evidence for what's going on? And how do we take decisions that bind us forward for 3 months, for 6 months, that have repercussions on the lives of people, of their families, without having the evidence, the knowledge, and the answer to many questions? Like, I don't have an answer to the question that you gave right now. I don't have the answer, except read Einstein, which is not really a helpful answer. So what do I do as a business owner when I don't have the answer?
It's truly not a helpful answer, by the way.
Exactly.
That
and
shit's
this
not
is the
happening.
situation.
It's not happening
But
in this life.
Still,
Go
we
ahead.
have to run global businesses. Still, we have to show up for the people we serve. Still, we have to decide if we go with that technology or that other technology.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to start collecting the own numbers, the own evidence. And this is what 90% of people out there don't get right. They don't have their own numbers. So they are not firmly rooted in their own reality right now. They are rooted in narratives.
What are they specifically missing? What are they specifically missing most often, Simon? What are the data sets or perspectives that they are overlooking that they need to be looking at?
If people listening right now ask themselves, what's my sales of next week going to be?
Simon, I don't mean to interrupt, but you get that it's entirely possible that this episode is not going to air.
Wait, let him answer the question.
Okay, but he said it for the people who are listening. He should just really be speaking for the two of us.
It fits really well. It's highly improbable.
It's highly improbable that anybody's going to listen. Exactly. That's exactly right.
It fits
go ahead.
the
Sorry.
topic. And still, right now, uh, people are running businesses. And so, one question about their evidence versus narrative is, what's my sales of next week? How many discovery calls did we have this week? How many did we turn into revenue? Three simple questions. And I could do the same thing for the marketing
Can you
area
give me
and
that
for the
first question? What's
operations
the
area.
first question again, please?
In the sales area, one question is, what are your sales numbers of next week?
Okay.
What are your sales numbers of this week? How many discovery calls did you have? How many did you convert into a client? That's just for the sales area. Because if we simplify what a business is marketing, sales, and operations, right? You bring attention to something, you engage until they work with you, and then you deliver what you promised. These are the three things that I would call a value chain of every business, right? Marketing, sales, operations. Now, in marketing, the question is, how many people right now want something from you? Right now, how many people were on your website clicking that PDF 7 times? The sales question are, how many people jumped on your phone or would love to jump on your phone right now, and how many of them did you convert into paying customers? And the operations numbers are, what do your current clients really need? What do they really get? And how happy are they really? If we just ask this simple question, basic questions of every value chain, and we ask this every day, the dozens of people we work with, we don't get answers. And these are smart people, great brands, inspiring personalities. But they get this information every 6 months, every 3 months, every month, or even never. Now, this is the gap. They have to decide every day, and their decisions, they have impact on their team's life, on the families of their team, on their clients' life, on the families of their clients. So it is a highly responsible situation, a highly relevant decision with zero reality baked into it. And that's a problem.
So you're saying they are
And so
basically
what I do every week is to help them close that gap.
So you're saying basically that they are relying on assumptions rather than data. They are just making a lot of assumptions about
Exactly.
what their market is and what their how likely their business is to succeed, but they're not actually looking at the raw data to actually get that indication from what they're putting out, what's coming back.
That's
Exactly.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. This idea, I hear the same thing, even a little. I have another question about the word assumptions. It's almost like it's even less, it's even worse than that. There's not even an assumption. It's more that they're randomly glossing over critical questions that, in fact, define the infrastructure of the purpose of a business in the first place.
Yeah, because an assumption would be a something that you have structured already. You
Exactly.
are aware of it. You have written it down in a way that can be falsified or verified, and then you move on to falsify or verify it. So I agree with Sam. It's not even an assumption because it is biomimicry. It is just repeating what
Biomimicry.
others say. For example, you should invest 40-60. You should diversify your portfolio, right? We have mental models that we just emulate from others. And it might be working for a specific time, but for example, right now, with all that's happening in Bitcoin, most of these models do not apply anymore. And so, when will be the point where your data tells you, hey, wait a moment, model needs to be updated? So first you have to know what the model is, and then second, you need a loop which is fast enough. That's why we have sprints of 7 days, because we want to have this early indicator that our models need updates. The model is not right again, Simon. The model is not working anymore. I want this loop to come quick, as a weak signal instead of 3 months later when it's a strong signal. It's usually too late for me to react.
So, Simon, what are the factors that you attribute that to? Basically, you're saying that the business isn't even looking at what their client necessarily wants and how their client is necessarily responding to what they're putting out there. What do you think it is about those running the business that is causing them to overlook such obvious markers?
One is biomimicry. As kids, we emulate our parents, then later we emulate our peers. This is how we learn and evolve. Now, later, you are 40 years old, you're running a business. It's an unconscious pattern, and you just keep repeating that. What is Elon Musk doing? I'm going to do it. What is Warren Buffett doing? I'm going to do it. Without taking into consideration that their data is different from yours, their market access this week is different from yours. So you have to bring in the numbers from your context, and you have to apply the principles that they applied, which is fundamentals of logic and fundamentals of how to run a business, and you have to apply them to your context right now. And that's the hard thing, because we didn't learn that in our education system. Most education systems do not teach you how to learn on your own, how to think on your own.
Right.
We are teaching people how to stuff data from other people into our heads and
Right.
become a repeating machine.
Right. We're conditioned from very early on to just absorb what other people have said works and then regurgitate that information. I find this actually really fascinating and something that definitely needs to be addressed. I mean, I went to Hampshire College in Amherst, Massachusetts. And for those who know it, it's all about developing your own educational model. You have to create your own course of study essentially and figure out how you are going to get to what you need to get to learn what you need to learn by the end of your 4 years there. And I found it so much more intriguing and engaging than when I was in school, because I mean, by the time I went, my direction in school was top student until I got to about my sophomore year, then started partying because I just could not keep up with the ignorance of that particular educational model at all. And weed and drugs, psychedelics were way more fun than studying to just regurgitate a bunch of bullshit. So that type of college environment, going to a place where I could actually be totally engaged because I was responsible for learning what I needed to do, and they were really going to teach me how to learn. Whereas a lot of people have gone through the college, graduate school, doctorate program, and it's maybe only during their doctorate program that they're really challenged to learn for themselves versus just churn out a bunch of information. So yes. I think this is really symptomatic of a really dysfunctional educational system. So how did you learn what you needed to learn? Was this mainly trial and error? How did you learn to think the way that you think rather than follow in the herd of someone else?
I was lucky enough to have hard moments in my life. One was my parents separated when I was 4 years old. That created a gap. I was like a fish out of water, like a son looking at my parents and saying, no, 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 stay together, don't go apart. That created a spark in me. I wanted them to stay together. So I became very aware of how they feel, how they behave. I became a little psychologist, if you want, and later also professionally a psychologist. I want to understand how you feel. Please stay together. How can I connect them? How can I reconnect them? That became my main driver in life. Later, I was between the countries. So my father was in South Italy and my mother was in Austria. And so I was flying from Italy to Austria. I was losing friends and I was eager to make new friends. So I would come into groups that were already established and I was the outsider, the new guy. And first I had to observe, okay, how do they behave? How can I make friends here? I have to first understand how they behave. So I was an outsider, observing, learning. Again, I was a little bit of a group psychologist, right? I was studying human behavior because I wanted to make friends and to connect. And I realized, wow, it's not that easy. They have their own logic, their own rules. And the fascinating thing was different mental models, different narratives of this is how we do things here. This is stuff that you do, this is stuff that you don't do here.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is it possible? These countries are quite near to each other, but they are different universes. How is it possible that there are multiple universes just here between these couple mountains, these couple kilometers here? So it created also a mental openness for me as a child to say, wow, if two countries have so many differences, what's the whole planet? Wow. And that created for me a whole exploratory mission and say, all right, I'm going to study psychology and philosophy because I'm intrigued. What is this thing? Why do people behave this way? And I became a student of human behavior. That was the first spark.
So this is really interesting, and I can completely relate to it. And I think that this is something that probably gets overlooked so much in terms of business educations. What you're talking about is that human behavior and psychology and philosophy is really fundamental for you to understand your customers. Whereas if someone is simply getting a linear kind of logical business education and they're not really learning about, or they're not even really interested per se in psychology and human behavior, they are likely just going to try to follow some other model that has already been put out before them, because if they have no interest whatsoever or are poorly educated in human behavior, they're not going to know what to look for in terms of what their customers are responding to. And so that is it sounds like a critical component to this process.
Yes, one is, do I have the courage to really look at things as they are? Do I have the courage to ask the most relevant question? Hey, customer, what do you need? What are you really getting? What else do you need? These are core questions, and I don't see everybody doing this all the time. That's why we help people install systems where you don't have to think about it anymore, and you will be asking these all the time. So we ask all clients every 30 days these questions. What are you getting? What are you missing? What is really helpful? What is broken and we should improve it? What else do you need? Who else does need this? These are very important questions in terms of operational questions.
So people kind of have it.
One thing is the courage.
So it's kind of people are approaching it in reverse. Do we have an echo going on here?
Yeah, that's in Simon's thing. Simon, something's in your echo.
Okay.
We both echo.
Yeah.
Try again. No, we're still echoing. But it only started about 3 minutes ago, by the way.
This is where we go psychedelic in the Insanity podcast.
Yeah.
It just goes.
I worked on this last night with Ken Sky, and we thought we have eliminated it.
Well, you're definitely not echoing at your computer, but both of us are echoing irritatingly.
Yeah. It's muted.
This is where we had psychedelic in this interview.
Yeah, this thing was getting too fucking heavy anyway. I I don't mind if we just slow down, just take a puff, just chill for just a moment,
Sure. Is it
You,
better now?
let's
Let's
see.
see.
Nope,
Nope.
not
Uno,
that
due,
much
tre,
better.
prova, prova. Prova, prova.
Yeah, you're not the echoer. We're the echoers.
Yeah, we echo. Do you have
Headphones, we
headphones?
tried those.
Uno, due, tre, prova, prova. Prova, prova. Okay,
Yeah, you're
let
fine.
me...
Do you have a alternate set of headphones? Maybe some that you could plug in?
Sure. Let me get them.
Well, let's take a pause. Sam, what do you think about this conversation? Did you I get that, you're
I think it's fascinating stuff.
it is. And I'm trying to think about the horse and the cart as he speaks. There's this idea of are people refusing to ask difficult questions, or is the landscape already set up that questions that are that far out of the box appear to be difficult? In other words, that the dominant nature of the prevailing agreement of how to walk through life and business makes questions like the ones he's asking, fundamental as they are, be massive outliers from the truth that's running the prevailing and way less effective conversation.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the ego and how we perceive ourselves and how challenging it is to truly listen to someone else about what they are looking for versus coming from a space of what you feel you have to offer them.
Brilliant.
It's like you're trying to protect your idea of what you have to offer them more than you're actually caring about what they actually need.
Yeah, it's brilliant, Sam.
Yeah.
It really is. It's really interesting. I think I'm going to wait for this next half. I'm interested in your view on this, but maybe Simon's not coming back, so we'll just ask you.
Yeah, he's like, this is a good opportunity to just dart and get out of here. It's like this. Done.
They could deal with the post-production on this one. I only have to see them once a week at the most. Maybe I can. Oh, he's coming back.
My other earphones are gone. My wife took them with her over the weekend.
Try those AirPods again.
I have only these ones, but they decoupled themselves for some reason.
Well, let's see what happens.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, you got to go into your settings. Go into your settings, I think, and then you got to change your settings to represent.
Uno, due, tre, prova, 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 prova.
Can you hear you?
No, you're good. Can you hear us?
Uno, due, tre. I can hear you.
Okay, we're good. That's rock and roll.
We're rocking. We're good. We're golden.
So Sam and I were just building on whatever it is that we think you're trying to say, and we came up with some interesting, I think, digging a little bit deeper in this conversation about what might be driving this oddity or this mismatch between the obvious questions and the landscape that doesn't support the obvious questions, that somehow just support superficial and unnecessary questions, like questions that are irrelevant in the greater scheme of things. As if we're saying that we're here for the successful contribution to others or having a business grow, if we're not asking these simple questions that are right at the edge of, right at the core, what is it that would have us believe that glossing over this stuff would be a better choice of how to manage interactions in the entrepreneurial world, and of course expanding to all interactivity in the social world as well. So Sam, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah.
Give it another ride here. Yeah.
So my theory is it comes down to two things: ego and vulnerability. Because I think, and I can relate to this myself, sometimes I think I have wanted to feel like I've got something to offer that I like, and I'm focused on what I think I have to offer the client versus really, really tapping into the deep questions to that client. What is it that you really need? rather than structuring it around really, really paying attention to that client's needs, sometimes it can be sort of challenging for one's ego, at least in my experience, to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know if I have what you need. So instead, we come from this idea of what we have versus from the reality of really being purely pure around what it is that that person needs and if you can fulfill that, or what it is that that company needs and whether you can fulfill that. So we're kind of taught to identify with the product that we think that we are serving our customer. And then I think through our sort of ego's conditioning, we tie our sense of value to that and feel vulnerable should that be challenged.
Yeah. Sam, I want to add, and Simon, I'm going to put the other end of this bookcase, this bookend on your desk here, because it looks like the same issue is in the recipient, the same issue of ego, meaning even if you were to ask me properly, what do I need? Because you actually care and are concerned about what it is that I came to you for when in fact I chose to want to work with you. Even if you were able to hurdle whatever ego boundaries, ego barriers that prevented you from getting there in the first place. So even if you were evolved enough to capture that, or maybe higher strategy sprints to do whatever you did here, what I'm wondering is, even if I could, I'm also, my ego as the potential recipient of services is set up to say, nope, I'm good. I actually don't need anything you have to offer. So there's a mutual dance here that blocks this interaction from both directions.
Beautiful questions. So let's start with Sam's one. Vulnerability. This is really one-to-one what we hear every week. So our coaches say, hey, start asking your clients what they really need before you build any features. Start asking them what they really need. And they go, ooh, wait a moment, sprint coach. If I ask this question and the answer is, hey, you are not helping me at all, how will my team feel? So it's really the vulnerability piece and the identity piece that also you, Fred, are going to. It's really this piece that is the emotional main point. And let's talk about that. Our answer is pretty simple. We say, hey, whatever you hear, that's where you are right now. That's your reality with your client in this moment. And there is no good reality or bad reality. There is just reality. So whatever you hear, it's okay, and you will improve that 1% every week. That's the strategy sprints method. So whatever I hear from any client, I am just hearing it. I am not super pumped and I am not afraid. I am just hearing it.
Fred, I love that. That's hilarious. I love that.
I'm just hearing it, and I want to hear it before it pops up, before it becomes a client complaint, before it is a client that doesn't renew, etc. So I want to hear it very early. And also on the other side, that's now the Fred angle, is but what if I don't want to be vulnerable on my side and tell you exactly what's working, what's not working, where I'm irritated, where I was expecting more and I'm not getting it. And come on, guys. This is a very important point. I think that every brand should be a trusted partner. Now, some brands, they answer me, no, I'm not a trusted partner. I just want to sell shoes. Okay, then go on and sell shoes, but please respect my time. We shouldn't work together. We should work together if you are trying to build something nurturing, something that improves beauty, gain, and good for your surroundings right now. And this is a complex human-to-human question. How can we serve? How can we listen? How can we build? So if you are onto these questions, now I'm in. Now let's sprint together and let's do this. And I'm your partner. And when I say I'm your partner, I take part of the risk with you. We will double your revenue in 90 days, or you get your money back. That's, for example, our guarantee. Now, on a
That's
superficial
ridiculous.
level,
That's just ridiculous guarantee. That's a ridiculous guarantee. So I absolutely am turned on completely by that guarantee. The boldness that's inherent in that is so beautiful. There's so much inherently golden about what you're saying there, about who you are as a man, about what it is that you think interactions are about what your purpose is in not only interactions with potential business client partners, but with all people. Simon, I am just in love with that guarantee. I completely adore it. So thank you for running it with it. It's just awesome.
the reason we have designed this after many years of thinking about it is we want both parties to have skin in the game. I was inspired by a book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who is called Skin in the Game. And it's a wonderful book. It's not super easy to read, but it's worth working oneself through it.
After I'm done with
because
Einstein, I'll take a peek at that one.
So the Nassim Nicholas Taleb basically says, if you are an entrepreneur, don't put all your risk on your shoulders. Distribute the risk. So, for example, when Elon Musk was launching the first Model S, he didn't know if the world would take it, need it, and so he did just a landing page with a sketch on it, and it says, "Look, I can build a car that can propel forward how we move to a smarter energy consumption world, and this can be a vehicle for it. It will be expensive, and if you want it, put your money in here, then you're on a waiting list, maybe you get it." And in this way, he was exploring if other people have also skin in the game. And after it, he would decide if they build it. So distribute, ideally 50-50, the skin in the game with whoever is the people you serve. So the people we serve are business owners. So we say, hey, we are not just your consultants. We will not come in and do your work. We partner with you. We have some knowledge and some tools and some experience, and we bring it in. We are partners in this. In 3 months, we both will have success. So I need you to collaborate. I need you to give me feedback. I need you to challenge me. I will challenge you. Together, we will win. And that's a little bit out of the comfort zone for everybody because it creates accountability. But that's exactly, I think, the best way to have a project together. Both are on their toes, both are present and aware, and want to move forward.
So, what types of businesses does this model work best in? I mean, the style of running your business that you are doing, I guess, really is better suited for some industries than others, obviously, and certainly in the consulting industry, I guess it bodes well for success if you can actually do it well. I mean, it's like there's no disincentive at all to the customer because they know they're going to get the value. So what types of businesses does this work well in or best in?
So let me just say that there is a negative side for the customer. The negative side is, shit, if I hire this dude, I need to be really honest. I need to really be able to dig into my own rabbit holes and really talk about the spaces for which I pretend to be competent, but I'm not. Or I pretend to have it together, but I don't. Or I lie to my customers or screw their girlfriends. And I don't want to find that out and have that be something that Simon it's like there is a challenge to the customer, and only a proper customer is going to stratify to be interested in this model, as it turns out.
Yes, Fred. Both parts commit to move from narrative to evidence, to collecting your own data and moving forwards from there week by week, improving it 1%. And there are many emotional implications in there about honesty, about integrity, about transparency, yes, about vulnerability. And Sam's question, for whom does this work? We have decided that we work only with high ticket B2B businesses, and this is SaaS companies and service companies, so professional services. So it's best if somebody is building a software that is meant to be sold to business owners, and if somebody is delivering a service that alleviates a pain or creates value for a business owner, because these are always high value propositions, and the complexity in it is that it's a very human to human situation from business owner to business owner, and that is very complex. It's not linear, it's complex. And when you have complexity, you need these kind of systems that we bring in, that will be the way you collect your data, you update your models, and create an agile way of running your business in very small chunks, more like Lego than like Duplo. It's in weekly sprints. So everything you do, your elephant is sliced in very, very small parts.
Great. I really am noticing this, that I guess this is how I was built. I have enough that resonates with you, and I suppose that's why we know each other as well as we do a little bit. There's some resonance in how you discovered, or what became your obsession on how to make yourself useful in this crazy world. And I'm really moved about your self-awareness and your story about how you got to this type of thinking when Sam asks that question point blank, and your answer is beyond scripted, simply true. And, really, like, it's not questionable. This is not a guy who sat in the mirror to do it right. This is a man who's looking from his soul to answer the most current question on the table. And I've told you before, the word that comes to mind when I first met you is you are so charming. You are charming, like a charmer. And it's such a pleasant experience to be in your presence. And it may not be so pleasant to always be you, by the way. I'm not suggesting that those things correlate with each other. But here's what I am noticing is that when your parents threatened your core, and when they started making a decision that despite little Simon's efforts, they're going to break up, that this had you already splitting loyalties and love for your two parents, and getting that she says that and he says that and they say that, and your very best, and how smart, and all the questions that you're asking, and everything you can to just do whatever you can to keep unification. It then gets spread over the mountains into southern Italy on the one half, and Vienna on the other half. And what we have is you looking like, well, hold on a second now. There's at least two very distinct, otherwise juxtaposed reality that are coexistent here, and both of them are true. And they're like, they naturally exclude each other, and they're both true. So how the hell, if there's two countries that are just separated, which is really just mom and dad, then now we have some mountains that we can call mom and dad. The mountain is a divorce, and dad lives west of, and all that is, the fervor that created this business includes this 1% a week. It's like, how did you get to be so patient, and therefore like the turtle, like the tortoise and the hare, like you're so patient, one step at a time, to take on this monumental task of assisting people in communicating with each other effectively in order to move everybody forward, and to do so with such grace and smoothness. Really, Simon, what is that? How can you do it 1% a week? Well, I, I guess as a psychiatrist, or, and also just so curious for similar ways, say, well, that's because you had your whole life to do this, and you would make little incremental changes like about once a week, and it actually moved your needle forward inside the world of Italy versus Austria, or mom versus dad, or whatever you had. And that this is just a natural outgrowth of who it is that you got to be. And now you get to run a company and be brave and fun and charming and make a difference, all on the heels of you being pretty alarmed and traumatized about your parents choosing to end despite your desires that it wouldn't occur. Like, that's pretty brilliant. It's pretty beautiful, Simon. I
It
tell me if
is.
I'm wrong.
And
Am I on board here? Did that make sense for the most part? If not, please correct me.
absolutely, except the patience part, because I'm absolutely impatient all the time. I So 3 years old, I look at this thing and say, this doesn't make sense that you are going apart. This doesn't absolutely make sense. You don't start a family to end it. That doesn't make sense. And it continued that way. So when I look at the world right now, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that the three of us are talking here. It doesn't make sense. It's improbable. It doesn't make sense. So
Oh,
let's make some progress here in finding
it
out
doesn't make
why
sense.
this is happening, what is happening. And then I become a little scientist. Now I am collecting information, and I am probing. I'm probing this, I'm probing that, I'm probing that. I start building up assumptions. Why do Fred and Sam and Simon resonate and are in this moment here together? And so these are assumptions that I will share with you. Some of them get validated, some of get invalidated. And then from time to time, something magical happens, and it is, a little insight, a little moment of meaning pops up. Hey, this makes sense. Whenever I have that, I am so excited. I get happy
Goosebumps.
hormones,
Just go
whatever.
for goosebumps. Don't leave this up to Sam. Sam will fill that line with some shit that's not going to be ready for prime time. So just go with
I
goosebumps.
get excited, and I want to share this with the world. So this is usually when I go to my wife, my kids, to my social media profile, and I say, hey, look, I have found something that makes sense. I want to share this with you. Wherever you are, you might like it. And so in that moment, I'm so excited, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to genuinely share this with others. And that's basically what I do every day. So I look at things, doesn't make sense, and then it's more of an impatient way of let's find the sense in this. So I start observing, probing, and when it clicks, I'm onto something, and I want to share this. And
You
in
know,
business, I just did this for 18 years. After 18 years, there were exactly 274 things that did click, and these are the current tools in the Sprint University. That's it. And they might be 275 when we talk the next time, because
yeah.
maybe I find something else. But usually I am into this doesn't make sense.
That 274 and 275 somehow makes me feel, makes me think of Pluto. But that's we don't have to go there tonight. I just do have another question though, which is, I the patient your tenacity is unmatched. I get that. You know, and I think that this idea of patience, I'm going to heave it back to you, that, gold miners, I live in the gold country now. And so sometimes I get hit up with some history about gold right here, right like underneath where I live. And in order to get a teeny bit of gold, they had to work their freaking tail off. And many days ended and they had no yield, not even close. And they're just, they maybe have a broken bone or some blood or some, sweat, tears, the whole thing. And I call that patient because you see, I'm built of the crowd. It's like, dude, I'm not doing that. If I can go buy some gold at the jeweler, then who needs to do this work to mine the stuff from the bottom of the ground? And there is patience inside the miner, but it's also driven by a tenacity that could, at least from the miner standpoint, appear that they're driven the opposite of patient. But in some ways, they're really related in this issue. I am charmed and so curious about how you get your work done. So thank you.
That's all systems and routines. It's really I come from an emotion, so I know that, and I'm a very creative person, and you could even call me chaotic. And that's why around me I have built systems and routines to canalize all this creative passion and dynamism that I have when I wake up. I wake up 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm ready to start 100 new things, and I'm excited. So I have systems and routines that canalize this. And one example is these 274 templates that are really how we structure our own business. And we just share our own spreadsheets and our own Google Docs with our clients so that they can start faster. That's why it's a sprint. But we are just sharing our own tools. And the same thing in the morning when I wake up, first thing that I do is I go running. I don't check the weather. I don't think about it. I just go running for 10 kilometers. Now, the first time I did it, it was painful. It was hard. I was feeling the weather. I had a ton of thoughts. Second month was easier. Third month was easier. Now that I am in, I think, 3 years in a row running every day, not thinking about it, now it is easier to go running than to stop.
Yeah.
From time to time, my Garmin watch says, now, today you should be resting. And I go like, no, 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 no. It's much harder for me to stop this program than just to go running. Let me go run. Come on. Who needs recovery? Let me go run. And I just go run easier, but I still go running. So it's when the momentum is here, it is no effort. I just ride the wave. That's how it feels. It doesn't feel like I have to motivate myself to anything. I am free to do in any moment whatever I want, and I do it.
Is this okay? If you have to pick one or the other, is this mom or dad that's talking to us here? Because that's some shit right there. That's some shit, man. It is. We all wish we had that, Simon.
I was going to say, I'm envious.
Yeah, you bet. We all wish we had that. And some of us pretend to have it. That's kind of what I'm talking about. If you don't want to be authentic with yourself, and maybe that you're pretending a little, but no, I just don't get the impression that you are. And is it mom or dad or both? Or is it the Pyrenees? Or if that's the mountain chain, whatever, what's in there? Where'd you get this?
After 18 years of doing something, it comes across as light and easy. It is, it is not building the routine is not light and easy. The first time I was running, I was crying. My ankles had problems. I had the wrong shoes. It was cold, and I'm not used to cold because I'm an Italian. So many, many, many hours later, weeks later, and if you do it 1% every week, I started with 1 kilometer, one, and then two, and from 1 to 2, I was I wanted to give up. And from 2 to 3, I asked my friends to support me, etc., etc., etc. So it's not that the building up was easy or effortless or anything. It is when you look at the 4th year of doing the same thing, in running, it was 4 years streak. Now it's easier to do it than not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
In my business, I have done 18 years the same thing, 18 years only helping entrepreneurs run their business better. I did nothing else for 18 years. And the first 4 years, I did it also during the weekend. There was no break from that. First 4 years, I was just serving the client's problem as best as I could. So I was sacrificing my personal life and everything around it, my relationships. So that was the hustle.
Was it a
That
time
is
limited? Was
some
it planned
commitment.
to be time limited, or did you finally just realize that you were going down a drain here, or did you have it that I think I'll do this for 4 years and then I'm gonna loosen it up a little? Which way was it, if you recall?
I always said, I'm just going to do this for 1 year and then I stop. And then all my friends, oh, Simon, 1 year is over. Yeah, but I have this project, just this one project, and then it's over. Simon, it's the 2nd year. When are you going to stop? Oh, I have this project in that city. I want to see that city. Come on, let me do that project. And so it became 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I get that that's where that tenacity comes from, is it just comes from pure enthusiasm.
I am many times thinking about this. So what is it that drives me, and if I would relax more, what would happen? Now there is this moment where I feel most alive when I am in the midst of a problem that we need to solve. So I'm so happy when every Monday we come together and discuss all the clients, because they have some problems that we need to solve. And this is the best moment for me. We come together, there are 12 problems that we need to solve. There is no solution. All right. Let's get creative.
That's awesome.
And these different superpowers, they start really coming up. Sam knows a couple of my people.
Yeah.
And he knows that, for example, Zach, he was scaling Uber Eats. Sunil, he scaled Ernst & Young. So other people in my team, they were the heads of Google or sales people for Coca-Cola. So they have much better skills in the each particular problem solving area than I have. But I relax into, I don't have the solution, but I like that we explore the problem together. I like that we are together in this and we will find a solution, because I believe in every second in the creativity of every single person. I think that every single person is infinite creativity, infinite possibility, and just a beautiful little fractal of the universe. So I am really, I can relax into it and say, wow, we have 12 problems. 8 of them are kind of impossible to solve. All right, let's do it.
Love it. Incredible.
You know, it's partly that consideration of each one of your clients as being fractals of the universe too, just like you just said, because it takes that fascination with the client for you to care about the client, for you to be as authentic with the client as you possibly can. So it's all connected to how you orient towards your fellow humans. And you just nailed it right there. That's where all that excitement comes from. That's why you have had the tenacity and the endurance to go through what it took to set up all of these systems, even though they were challenging. That's why you show up to each meeting with this open sense of excitement, because you're seeing each one of us as fractals. I get that. because of how I orient towards my own clients, I understand it very deeply. It's so fascinating to hear you describe it in a different context.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And I guess I'm always healing myself. Whatever I do, it's always Simon getting in more contact with deeper Simon, with the
Mm.
fractal of the universe. And it's
Mhm.
always a little bit more accepting the limitations and, of course, the negative feelings that I have many times during the day, but also relaxing into that other part, which knows about the resilience, which knows about what Dr. Fred calls patience, and the tenacity. Both of it is there. Every day will be full of problems, but also there is creativity emerging in every moment. And so I try to relax in both of them. I embrace the uncomfort. I embrace the pain, and with that comes also a the chance for the creativity to emerge, because if I stay with it long enough, I know it will transform. This is what I experience every morning when I go running. If I
Well,
stay with it, it transforms during 10 kilometers.
it's just such a different attitude than most people take towards problems. You see problems as opportunities. You see them as opportunities for growth, for self growth, and for that company to grow. You see it as nothing but a good thing, essentially, that's part of that evolution that's needed. Whereas most people would look at problems with the attitude of, now there's another problem. But you're like, oh, there's problems. Oh, cool. Let's check out how we're going to solve these problems. You take an entirely different kind of attitude towards it that sees them as opportunities for growth. And that is such a rare quality to have. So I hope those listening, if anyone is listening, I hope those listening really focus so much on the value of what you're saying here, because this is huge. This is enormous. If everyone in the world could take your attitude towards problems and see them as opportunities, not take the attitude of, oh, another problem, we would be living in a totally different world.
It's not. I'm trying to put myself into. I at least have a couple feet up the ladder of, Welcome to Humanity is based on a similar ethos, anyways. But it's like, well, why? What's stopping me from being just curious from the roots about the beautiful fractal that's across the table from me all the time? And, the thing that I'm noticing is the feedback loop that you got, Simon, growing up, this idea of being curious and then creating solutions from nothing that actually worked for you, then had you embedded more than maybe anyone I've ever met. I'm not sure of that, but right up there, in a way of being that is entirely aligned with what your soul is about. Like it's not that different, because you take yourself on every morning or every week or what, you get deeper every week so that you're more aligned with what it is that matters to you. And it seems like then a natural outgrowth is, I got this, or we got this, or, let's go after this anyways. Let's use our ingenuity and our experience and our mastermind to create solutions to things that otherwise don't have solutions, period. And the excitement that you bring on that is so inspiring. It really is. It's, at least from an American culture, that shit's been worn out in this country. There's not a lot of people running with that level of heartfelt interest in other people that you just bring naturally. So
I
thank
would
you.
agree. I would agree. Do you think that this is partly a cultural thing? Simon, too? Do you feel that you're, I mean, we're all obviously unconsciously, collectively parts of our cultures, even no matter how independent we feel ourselves to be, we are inherently part of our cultural context as well. Do you feel that this is part of the culture more so where you are in Vienna than it is, say, in America?
I do not think in countries. And one of the beautiful things of what's going on right now with the decentralization of many things, a distribution of many things, like, for example, Bitcoin, for me, the beauty is that it makes countries irrelevant. And I was always, to me, the concept of countries and culture really was always a limiting belief. It made no sense to me. And also, if you look on a granular level, in the same country, people are very different. In my own family, I have two kids. They are so different, and you could say they are the same culture, even the same DNA, but they are super different. So I try to go through that and to see people as they are when they come to life, their first years. I am very inspired by the 3 years olds, by the 5 years olds. Even I remember my son Federico, the first second then we looked each other in the eye. The very first second when he was born, we had communication from eye to eye. And that communication was so intense. He couldn't speak, obviously, but he opened his eyes, we look at each other, and it was so intense. And I felt like this is the 10,000th time that we experienced this. That's how
Hmm.
intense and rich the experience was for me.
Hmm.
So I just go back to kids and I look, hey, how are a human being actually when they are 3 years old? And if you look at them, they play, they sing, and they explore. Not much more. And then, of course, they are hungry in diapers. But mainly, they play, they sing, and they explore, and they invite to play. They invite everybody to play. That's what I look at. So when I'm working with an entrepreneur, uh, I see the 3 years old, and and I invite to play, really. And so I try to build a helpful landscape where we can play with things. And I only think of what are the boundaries that I need to build so that they don't fall over a cliff. But the rest is just free play.
Simon, that is your magic. That is why you are as charming as you are, because you took the best of the first few years of life and you held on to that spirit. And that's exactly why you're as charming as you are, because
Beautiful.
you encapsulated that experience over those first few years, and that is still at the core of who you are. That is so rare.
Right. And I'm just going to put more frosting on it and say that you definitely did that early. And you got so good at that you actually take the best out of every year as you grow. You're like, you're the best 27-year-old too. And you're the best 32-year-old. It's like, I don't know how old you are, but it's like whatever you are sifting out the stuff that works for you and then reevaluating to determine whether it's still currently valid. Does it work? Like, does this work? Because if it doesn't work, it's time to shelve it. It's time to create a new solution. It's time to create a new approach. And my goodness, it sure does seem rare. And at the same time, there's something like it's so core in its humanity. I'm, yeah.
I'm 42. Every year that I get older, my body feels more vulnerable, more slow, more. It needs more time to regenerate and needs more time to warm up and all these things. But on the other side, this other thing that we have talked about, the journey of connecting to one's own soul, that really gets richer and richer. I'm just reading Carl Jung's Red Book, where he has
Mm.
these also around mid-career. So he is established in his business. He is an expert in his field. He is asked by everybody, but in the night he is communicating with his deepest self. and drawing it in a beautiful way, and it's wild. And that is what I see happening now for me in my 40s, that because I dare to go deeper into my own soul, outside more interesting things happen, more interesting projects, but especially I'm meeting more interesting people like Dr. Fred, like Sam Morris. They are in a complete different country, that doesn't matter, but our souls click on a level which is so beautiful and so interesting, and every time something new pops up, and that keeps me going.
It's great. It's just great. It's great. Thank you, both of you, for being. I just get blown away. I'm like, wow, look at me actually playing around with Sam Morris and Simon Severino. And it's just like, wow, that is cool stuff. So thank you. Sam, it's an hour and 10 minutes, and we could go for like, we could keep going because I'm going to actually, but it's past my bedtime. And so I'm supposed to get some shut eye sometime soon. And so we got to bid Mr. Severino arrivederci.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That was fantastic. I just feel good after this. Just being in both of your presence just feels so damn good. Simon, you're such a pure soul. And I love that about you. And your clients are so fortunate to have a guy like you to partner with them.
Indeed.
It is, and I appreciate this experience because it is not granted, and it is not given. Then when somebody shows from deep within how they are, and with all this craziness and contrarian being, that the other side sees this, takes this, and can carry along a couple meters with one. So this is something really special for me, and thank you for this. It's not just an interview; it's a moment of deep connection.
I knew we'd hit gold. I knew we'd hit gold sometime here. So that's great. It really is. It's I couldn't agree more. There's like a painted smile. It's like, well, look at that. There's a spirit. There's a spirit that I got to visualize and even participate with tonight with our conversation. And it's just not all day, every day that we're running into somebody serving that up on a silver platter. And that's what you do, Simon. So it's just wonderful. Thank you.
It's like we were witnessing and dancing around. So three people watching one thing dancing in the middle, and this thing dancing in the middle is probably the soul and the journey of every human being everywhere right now. And but we could for a moment watch it and celebrate it and say, oh yeah, come on, let's celebrate this. I love it.
Wow.
Wow. So well said.
Indeed. We got to stop with that.
Wow.
It's not good. I get that we might be able to upgrade that, at least you, Sam, but I don't got anything left that's going to go over the top of that.
That nothing can top.
No, I know Simon you could load one up if you needed to. I know there you got at least one more in the what's that called, in the chamber. You got at least one more in the chamber. I know you do, but save it for the next interview.
That was beautiful.
It really was. Thank you, Simon, and thank you, Sam, and thank you for putting up with all the technical stuff beforehand, both of you, and thanks for putting up with me as we get those wrinkles ironed out. And I learned from my past, and thank you for a wonderful conversation. And that's it for me. And if either of you have something to say, please take the floor.
All right. Wow. That's all I got to say.
I'm in. Thanks, Simon.
I think you posted it the last time, Sam. You said there was this interview, and you said the title was it was so intense. This conversation was so intense, you could even call it psychedelic.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's a great interview, by the way. Yeah. Yes, this fits in perfectly with that.
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All right.
gentlemen.
Thank you. Arrivederci and shalom and au revoir and catch you on the flipping side.
See you soon.
Love you both. Bye.